Okay, welcome back to the channel. I'm excited. It's been a long time since I've been able to be on. Long time since I've been well enough to be on the channel doing live art for y'all. And you'll notice I don't have a comic page up right now, and we'll get to that in just a moment. But I just wanted to explain that I've been sick for like most of February. End of January to most of February, and I couldn't stop coughing when I talk. Like I tried coming and doing some like some incognito live streams as I was sick, and it just was not working out. I was trying to make TikToks, YouTube, not TikTok. What's the other one? Instagram, the one we don't like to talk about. Right. So so that's been me. I'm back. Of course, if you don't know, my name is Zak Kinsella. I'm a comic book artist and illustrator living in Denver, Colorado, and I am working on getting my Mothman book finished and trying to do at least a couple of pages every week for that. Again, slight delay this last month with being sick and having to work so much during sickness. But I also do a lot of wrestling art, if you don't know. And that's why I have this picture right up here. I did a quick piece of Mercedes Monet last night. And she made her AEW debut, and I was pretty stoked for that. So if you want to see a time-lapse process of that, I put it in my shorts. So keep an eye out for that. So I would go on to be doing Mothman. However, one of the things going on with that is I got a anthology. I got an anthology job for something I can't really talk about quite yet, but I can show off what I'm working on with it. So I'll be working on this page tonight here. I'll be referencing my script here and there for it, but I basically have the plan down for it for this page. So I want to be working on this evening and having some fun with it. The first panel is really a security guard at a security station with some pretty cool decked out, and the AirPod thing go away. It has some pretty cool different droids in the background, and that's what these little guys are that I'm drawing, like in the inset panel, and then we go to the droid's perspective, and then we're going to go to a car crash scene. So I still have to draw the car crash, and I got to ink this page, and I got to really get this page done pretty quick here. So that's what I'll be working on tonight, and I decided instead of having, like, whenever you see X's around a panel, that indicates where I'll be putting them in my blacks. I'm going to erase a little bit right here because I want more of that figure right there. So this is the first panel. I wanted more of a, like, you know, three-point perspective feel to it. So that's what we're working on right over here. I'm going to start moving out some of these. These little canisters are where my droids are supposed to be. The hell pencil am I using? Alright, there we go. Oh, opacity is down. No wonder. These three panels right here. Is something going on with my pencil? I feel like it is. There we go. These three cylinders here are supposed to be like the charging stations for my my little drones. So I'm going to work on that and get them in there in their little charging spots and draw them. Then move to the next panel. I want to give it a little bit more. Sorry, guys. I want to give it a little bit more detail on that panel. Show him, the security guard, from the back perspective, and let this be. It's going to be loading up an image of what it was showing, what we'll be showing on the next three panels, basically. So let's get to rocking on with that. This is set in. I'm really annoyed by this pencil right now. This is set in a future, basically, you know, dystopian sci-fi. You know, your classic go-to. So I'm going to try and stay as close to this as possible. There we go. Sometimes for that, perfect circular angle to work, it has to be like ridiculously close to where it should be. I'm not sure if I'm going to use that or not. I'm not sure why I'm yawning so much. That really must be a cool part of the channel, is to have someone who's streaming yawn the whole time. But I am excited to be here working on this piece. So don't get it twisted. I jump around my pages all the time here. So I'm going to try and focus on this one first and get it done within this next hour, so I can start inking it tonight, coloring it tomorrow, so forth and so on. And we'll be doing I'm gonna put some I think I'm gonna put some cool Easter eggs in those panels for the TV there. Because why not? That's kind of the fun of comics, is putting little secret things in there. At least ones that won't get you in trouble, right? Like, I feel like I didn't leave enough space over here for this guy. I'm gonna move that back. There we go. And we're supposed to show a little bit of light down there with so I made it kind of blobby, kind of like a Jean Grey kind of thing going on there. And we'll get its lens there. Make sure it's a nice little 3D lens. I think I need to do the same thing over here. Let's take a picture of the screen. Get more people on this stream, right? So I like to promote as I'm working on here, right? However, it makes it hard when your links expire when you're trying to post them. Alright, let's get back to it. Thanks for letting me promote myself. So as what's kind of neat, what's kind of fun is with comics is that, you start to, as you go with your penciling, you start to see those flaws and those mistakes you've made, and then you get to correct them and be like, okay, cool, I made a mistake there, let's fix it, right? And the way this charging distinction was kind of described to me makes it a little bit more complicated than I want it to be. However, they also didn't tell me to put this in any kind of perspective whatsoever, so I decided to go do the hardest perspective to make a statement right off the bat here. Which, you know, it's one of those things where you're like, well, we have made a decision. But I think it's a really cool panel, and I'm pretty happy with it. I'll let the inks do most of the talking here a little bit later with it. Just so I can get it to look, you know, as I want it to look. So what I'm going to do is then just, like, you know, kind of put our dude right over here on the opposite end. Start mapping out his head. I kind of wanted him to be like a little bit of a thinner version of, you know, Dell's the funky Homo sapien character from Gorillas. And so whenever I'm penciling, you know, when you draw someone from the back, it's exactly like drawing them from behind. Honestly, I draw them the same way, just then I tend to erase the face that I've made. With this one, it's a little bit easier because I'm cutting out half the back with a hunched over back. And we're going to use a lot of shadow right over here because they're technically, you know, they're looking at a screen, so they're going to be, you know, lit from the front and not the back. I'm going to get this, make him like a little bit, try not to make him too bulky, but he's kind of lurched down. He does kind of have like broader shoulders there, like in, so I want to make sure we know like we've got the same guy, and the silhouette really is what tells the difference. Is like I can draw him without any defining characteristics, like a face, anything like that. I can draw him all in the shadow and make sure he looks like the same person back to front, simply because I've made it to where, like, okay, he's got half his hair on the other side of his head. He's got two nodes coming out, so it's consistent from panel to panel. And that's always my goal when designing characters. It come from that, you know, come talking about animation world in a lot of ways. Oh God! Sometimes you just tap on the wrong stuff and nothing goes right in an evening. There we go, back to 6B pencil. So I wanted to get some thicker pencil lines on here because I'm going to start adding in some blacks so that our audience knows, hey, it's the same guy. So I always go from HB to a 6B pencil. The 6B pencil gives me, as you can see, much thicker lining and a much more of a way to fill things in faster. I'm going to try and put, so he has a computer screen about halfway down. I'm going to put that down over here. So working around with this. Now I've got to imagine what the front of this office looks like. I'm trying to keep this part. I'm honestly think I'm just going to fill it in with blacks. And have some glow down here at the bottom. Simply because we have some dialogue and some text that's going to come over this panel. And I want to make sure that that has room to breathe, basically. So I'm going to fill it in, like I said, with some blacks. I might actually get rid of this, like, this little lens here. I wanted this security office to be, in so many ways, like I wanted it to be the majority of the black as compared to the rest of the page, because the rest of the page is going to have, it's a car wreck with a lot of debris. And so we're going to be focusing in close up. Like I've already started to draw the last panel, because I needed to find some automobile reference, and what that looks like. So we will be working on that. And I just really kind of realized I don't like the perspective of these drones up here. Like they should be going more like that. And I think we're getting there with this one here. But it's been like working in 3-point perspective is like extremely challenging. Even though you have the guidelines there for your grid, you can still mess up. And that's kind of like where this one, where we didn't go with this one. So I'm going to erase that one here. Yeah, and you can kind of see like I don't have to have 3 drones there. And I'm kind of flirting with the idea of not. Because they fit so much better that way. And I can always clone more, but I think I'm going to stick with just 2 drones. I believe, I want to say this script called for 3, but I'm going to double check that real quick. But it also fits in much better than the 3 that I mapped out. I can always change it pretty easily. It's not the end of the world if I have to go back to using 3, but I feel much more confident in this panel with just the 2 of them right there. And I think what I'm going to do is make some lines, like some thin lines right over here. Though I don't know why that that line panel, like you're thinking about the background and everything, like why there would be a panel right there, but this is the fun part of comics. It's also the stressful part of comics, is that when you're not only with illustration comics are you coming up with the art of what the characters should look like, what the background should look like. You're also kind of coming up with, does this actually make sense what I'm doing right here? Does this feel good? Does this look good? Is it going to come out okay? And I think it will. This page is a little bit daunting in that fact where it's personally, I really want to do a good job with this page. I really want it to stand out because every time you do a page for an anthology, it is a job application in sorts. It's proof of work, proof of doing quality work at that. So that's where it gets to be a little bit difficult. And if you don't have all your ducks in a row and you're not doing quality work, then you don't get brought on for more. And the person I'm working with on this one, I'm really keen on. They're a good friend, and I want to make sure I do well by them. Because if you don't know, comics is a small community, and if you are acting like a jerk or you're not doing the work that you need to, you tend to not be brought on for other things. And I'm really working on being more of a consistent artist when it comes to putting out more work and being not only putting out more work, but being consistently good at the work I'm doing. That's my goal. And we're 20 minutes in. Feels good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start this next panel down here, because I'm pretty sure I have a good idea of how this one's going to come out. I want to do my blacks here and up over here. I'm just gonna give myself some guidance for when I go into inking this. Like, I really like my brush, you know, to do the heavy lifting when it comes down to it. Be it virtual or, you know, in real reality here. Give it a little shadow down over here. So I really wanted to draw like this one, this last panel of the last 3 panels first, simply because it's a zoom out, zoom in, zoom in, and you know, I wanted to get that positioning of that severed robot arm in, where it would look, you know, good as far as we're going here. And also start to draw in, you know, the concrete. And draw in, you know, debris around it. And draw a big, like, wheel well right over here. And go like a little like futuristic with a with some, not only some like cool hover car kind of stuff, but I want there to be like, hey, we got like this, we got so much more debris on the ground that other debris is laying down on. You know, I'm just kind of trying to like basically spitball with my brain how I want this panel to come out, and make sure nothing looks like it's, you know, like it's floating. And I don't think it does at this point. I think we're pretty good at that point. Like it's starting to come out more and more, like it's like, oh, there's just, at first it looked like it was like just floating in the air, but as I'm sketching out some of the raw details of this, it starts looking more and more to me like, oh, okay, there is a car there, and I have my reference on my phone actually. I didn't want to be flipping back and forth between a web page on the live stream here and just showing like what I'm looking at. Not because it's gory or anything weird like that, but more so because it's like, yeah, I just, you know, maybe I just don't feel like it's that compelling. I do use reference material. Everyone should when they're, you know, looking at drawing, but I'm also, the tough part is that I'm also like futurizing this, so to speak, trying to make it look futuristic, and kind of like the same thing when like, I think, you know, it's like when you have, like, you look at Star Wars as an example, of course, like, you know, those pistols looked so familiar to us because they were made off of World War II pistols. And then, like, there's a couple of embellishments to it, a little square, a little circle here, a little, like, you know, painting, a little brushing there, and a couple of added parts, and you've got a future blaster that looks like a German Mauser. So you have instant recognizability, but you also have something that could easily be like, yeah, this is like future tech, or in Star Wars case, something a long time ago, right? So that's where I'm going with this one here, and I want to make sure that like this debris is just, you know, everywhere. You know, I doesn't want to get like, I'm starting to draw little pieces here and there, like just laying everywhere, because that's what the script is calling for. And I'm going to draw something that looks kind of like a wheel, but I want to make it like also like a vent. Like it could have been something that turned around to float around as well. I'm going to make that wheel well all busted up and open. I'm going to give it some black here as well.
and start to define what I have right there, and give it also like some space for detail there, some scoring, right? Put in some black for shadow here and there, but like also be like, oh, okay. So when I zoom out on the next panel over, I feel like I'm drawing like manga style a little bit, drawing from behind to forward. But that's not the point here. I'm just want to like get a good scene put out there, right? And now we're starting to get like, it looks more like stones and rocks, more than debris, and I'm kind of struggling with that a little bit right now. I'm gonna probably change some of that up to where it's like, we have little things like spark plugs and little wrenches and little screws, right? Little, just tiny pieces that would make sense. And I was like, because it kind of seems like it's, the thing about like looking at an auto wreck is like, man, stuff looks like just a jumbled mess of stuff. So you kind of have to draw that, but you kind of also have to watch out that like it doesn't start looking like an organic mess, which I feel like that's where I'm going with some of this stuff. So what I'm gonna do with my go-to is always to put a couple of mech lines in there. And some circles, right? Little things like that, I think, can help out quite a bit when we're trying to render these panels and render mechanical doodads and hoo-has. Alright, so let's plan out these next two panels. So I want to so what I'm thinking of here is having a this wreck as basically like planning out shapes, like, hey, here's part of this and here's the other part of this, and I might pull out even further, honestly, to where this is part of the wreck. There's all this, like, there's a debris field here, and then there's another part of the wreck, and then we also have this rail right here to show that off. And I might even go further out than that, as I'm looking at it, where I like to look at, like, hey, if I set up a street here, the first thing I'm going to do is turn off my my drawing guide, so you can kind of see the piece a little bit more clearly as I draw. As we think about as I think about a street here, just trying to erase. Erase that part here. So what's kind of cool is I can have, one car here, debris field and all that stuff here, and then one other car over here, and maybe have something on, let's have some fire. Let's do it. And I want to make, like, if I had it up to myself, I'd make it like total F-zeroed out car style. But that is not up to me. can have like a little shoulder right here if we want to, because it's not a sci-fi where like it's unrecognizable to us. You'd be like, oh no, you know, you'd be like, hey, we're drawing, you know, we're driving above. And we should put some debris out here too, right? We should have recognizability. It should be like, it's dystopian, but it's also recognizable. It's science fiction, but it's also recognizable. We're not like 3,000 years into the future or anything like that. So I'm kind of just like eyeballing my perspective right now because I still need my perspective grid up at the top to kind of play around with a few other things. Mostly this pain in the tail. There, I think we got it with that one. Yep. We'll just play around with that. But so I wanted to have, you know, like I was studying, you know, like I said, car wrecks and like where the debris is on something like this mangled. Like I just want it to be like the back end of a car or a future car, if you will. And I know I have the right perspective for it, but the car doesn't look like I want it to look by any means. It should almost be that they're just like in... Like you've seen some car wrecks where they're just like, you're like, holy crap, you can only recognize the back half of something. And there should be like mauled up pieces, big pieces coming out. You know, and I think I like that camera angle quite a bit, as far out as it is, because I get the full scene, right? I could squash it even more if I wanted to, but I'm not, I'm not quite there yet with it. I kind of want it to be like a head-on crash. And I've been looking at car wrecks, and it's not pretty when you do that. Like, sometimes, like, when you go and, like, do some research, you're like, oh, brother, like, did I have to, like, look at that? That sucks. Just gonna draw some little buildings down here to show that we're way above the city. And it's kind of fun, like this is where you can hide like, you know, a little graffiti or something like that. Get those lines thickened up. And I think, like I said, I'm pretty happy with like that perspective as is. But I'm gonna retool it here in a little bit. Put some lane lines right next to it. And I want it to look like the trunk is like collapsed in to the back of this. Kind of getting that that look of future car. And maybe we'll put some like some prongs heading out for it. Like, you know, like it really had this, you know, really cool sci-fi feel to it. But like the top of it caved in when it hit, and it just looks like an absolute nightmare. Put the other car right underneath it. And I want to have some, like, whenever I see, as I've seen so many of these, like, car wrecks that they have, you know, liquid, lots of, like I said, I want to have the car to where it was on fire. And it's starting to really, like, it's starting to come out. It's starting to cook. Like, I'm starting to be, like, kind of stoked about this panel. Right. I left a lot of room down there. And I need to double check my script at some point here. Because I'm pretty sure I need to leave, like, some pretty good amount of space for some dialogue down at the bottom from the robots. But the nice thing with drawing digital, is I can shrink this stuff. I can really, like, I can honestly, like, just play around with the dimensions. And just have a good time with it. And that's really where I was like, man, I was really stressing about this piece, honestly, because I was like, anytime as an artist you're told to, you gotta draw a car, it's like, it's kind of the end of the world. So, but with this, I was like, this is all set, like, in the future, and I can do whatever I want in regards to the world. Like, the world will have to have it has its own rules, and I have to pay attention to those design rules of the regular artist for the series. So, like I said, I don't want to, like, totally, like, stone cold stunner their vision or anything like that, but I do want to, like, have my own spin on this. And, like, what is Zak Kinsella's, like, look at utopia or dystopia? What does that look like? And, like, do I want to go all Jeff Darrow on this panel? Like, I have one of his pieces right above me, and, like, you know, I love that he has that much detail that he puts in. Do I want to be known for that? I don't know. But I'm kind of feeling like anytime I do sci-fi, like, I really want to put a lot of detail into it. I like the juxtaposition, like, you know, in something in manga especially, where it was like you have these wonderfully complex backgrounds with characters that are radiant and that are, what's the word for it? Expressive, extremely expressive. You know, I don't want to be out here, like, say, cartoony, because I don't think that's used in a non-derisive way in so many ways when describing comic artists who don't fit the, you know, the traditional vibe of what a Marvel or a DC would be looking for, your corporate entities. I've been through plenty of editors over my years, and I get more attention at my work in animation, and that's just the truth of it. But I love comics, and I want to make more comics. And my goal this year is to not just work in more anthologies and get my own books out, but also I want to put a book of short stories and just challenge myself when when I have some downtime. Rather than playing around, I've focused a lot on illustration, and I get a lot of work through illustration, but I've also been really wanting to get more comics work out there and see join my peers in comics. And one of my buddies, Michael Kingston, keeps reprinting my comic that I did with Danhausen and Land Pitts, and I look at it, I was like, this is a career highlight, this being reprinted so much. It really is. And I just want to do more that gets, that keeps getting my name out there, and that keeps getting my work out there. How cool is it to work with your buddy and the wrestler Danhausen? That was such a treat. And just to see it keep getting reprinted, the reprints keep selling out. And all I want to say is I did that with more and more and more comics over the next couple of years, because I'm tired of not doing that. I had kind of a tough time during this pandemic this last year. I lost a good amount of friends and family, not to COVID, but just naturally as it was, and that was tough, honestly. And so when I think about that, I was like, man, it makes you think mortality, of course. And it makes you think, man, I could not have a whole lot of time. A car crash like this that kills people can happen anywhere at any time. And I really want to just make sure that I can just have some great comics out there, and have some great illustration out there, and have some awesome storyboards out there. I want, I'm not gonna lie, I'm just gonna be I do want all of these things. I don't want to just be known for my comics. And that's that. So I hope you guys are enjoying this. I'm not paying attention to any chats or anything like that. I gotta get a chat moderator at some point if this picks up in popularity. But honestly, this is more so, if people are coming for the ride, awesome. I'm so happy you're here to watch this. I'm so thankful. But really, my big motivator in doing live YouTube, and I'm gonna plink a little money down so I can do Twitch at the same time as YouTube here. I want to hold myself accountable and get more and more workout out there. I can sit in I was thinking about buying a PS5 at some point soon, and I was just so I can play the new Final Fantasy game. And I just don't really play video games like I used to. I'm more so when I think about my motivations, I was I don't want to be jealous that my friends and other people are putting out some really great comics, and that I've been playing Final Fantasy. I spend enough of my life playing video games, and I have to find, I do have a day job that I love, and so it's tough to find a balance with that. I have to find a way to be able to play those games, make comics, get paid for making comics, and I get paid more for doing storyboards, honestly. And I like doing storyboards. Storyboards are kind of awesome. But, it's just, the heart wants what it wants, and it wants to do comics. And I love the fact that, with my book Cryptid, I'm looking over these pages and seeing how I've progressed. That idea for that comic popped in my head in 2020, and it took a while to write, and it's finally coming to fruition now. It's a little, as I look at it, I'm man, I kind of storyboarded it out instead of writing it, and I had a clear beginning, middle, and end for it. And the more I storyboarded out, the more like some parts diverge, some parts come together, and I really want to see that comic come to fruition, come out. This, it's 52 pages. I've got 30 something pages done. My goal is to take the next couple of months and get that finished after I finish this, so I can have stuff. I have only applied for one convention this year, and that's Thought Bubble in the UK. See if I get into it. I lie. I did apply for ECCC, but I did not. It's the first time I've never gotten in, so that was discouraging. However, I also didn't have a whole lot of new stuff to show off, and I didn't feel like I was in a financially advantageous situation at that time. So next year's fine. I haven't been since 2019, so I'm not too butthurt about it. I had a little bit of FOMO while watching everyone's like, oh hey, we're at Emerald City doing this cool stuff. And I'm like, oh, my buddies. So, and it was also like a time for me to, and I almost applied for Staple too. That sold out real quick, so I want to do that next year. But Staple is, my home state of Texas, and I love that show. The guy that runs it, Uncle Staple, is a sweetheart, and if you're in Texas, you should definitely check it out. It's such a cool show. It's happening in April. I just say dip in. So I'm trying to make some. Actually, This made me think of something a little bit different here for this graffito. So far, I hope you guys are enjoying this book or this page, and I would love it if you're watching the replay, if you're watching it now, give me a like and a subscribe. I'm gonna basically go live every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern or 8:30 p.m. Eastern. I can't. There's that cough I was talking about. I want to be doing comics, a page of comics, on live on YouTube every week, and really show y'all what's going into it. Like I'm going to start inking on this tonight after this is done. We got 10 more minutes left in the live stream. I'm trying to keep this down to an hour, so it's digestible, fun, but something you can come back and see the progress for. I'll show you the progress for what I've done to this page after it's all finished next week, because I have a few more pages I have to get done for this Kickstarter. At this point, though, I'm really happy with how it looks and how it's coming out, and I really want to get this this middle panel popping and going. And I gotta find the place. I think right here is where that third panel is going to be taking place. So I gotta put that arm kind of right here. And we'll flesh that out a little bit later. And I'm going to add in a whole bunch of just crazy stuff that's so much more debris. I'm going to use there's a old technique that I used to love when I was traditional, was grabbing a toothbrush, dipping it in some ink, and then flicking it to make like blood splatters and stuff like that. And I have a few brushes like that to make, they're less organic than I would like, but they still get the same point across if you're persistent in your chaotic placement of it. So that's where I'll be going to next with it. And then I'm gonna, so we have 3 different shots here going in. So the left panel is our, like, basically our establishing shot. Like, we know we're on a street, we know we're seeing a wreck of some sort, and then debris and a crash. So with that, the next page, or next panel, will be like more close in, basically like zooming into where like that hand is. And I think it'll be something kind of like, you know, you should see like we're in a little bit closer. And I want to focus on the wheel first and where the wheel's placement should be. So this wheel right here will be this wheel right here, basically. I'm going to make the damaged port. I'm going to keep drawing it from the idea of like what that is. I'm going to put the arm right here. So you have like come in, come in, come in. And I'll make that arm a little bit smaller. That way we know it's like, oh, okay, there's a lot more going on here. And so I kind of have to get this idea of like what the rest of the car looked like. And I think that's like where we're going with it pretty well. Like, we have an idea. Boom, boom, boom. That's where we're going. We're going in, in, in. And I gotta draw me a bunch of debris. More debris. But I want to have that liquid right there. Yeah, and that's the sketchy part of it right over through there. So, coming back out, here's my page. And here's what I've accomplished within the last hour or so. And I'm excited for it. I'm really excited. Like, things that I'm happy with. Let's talk about the things I'm happy with and the things I want to improve next. So things I'm really happy with is how like those bottom 3 panels are really coming together. I think we're telling a good story. We're like coming close in. And I'm doing justice to this script. I love how, you know, taking away that third drone up at the top helped me a lot place the perspective correctly. The perspective's still like kind of like a little wonky, but I think it works in more of a dramatic tone. Like, not all perspective has to be perfect, but you can't really fake it. You know what I mean? So I'm not trying to fake my perspective, more so exaggerate and play around with it. I am really happy with the fact that I have one straight on camera shot, and it's just that middle shot. And it's not, you know, I could have easily have done this all like straight on shots, but like I'm happy that I moved my camera around and over. And when I think of like, say, camera, it's like, where am I placing my camera to make this story like not just interesting but readable, right? You know, it's how do you make a security guard station look, you know, exciting? And I think I've accomplished that in this. So those are the things I liked. The things I want to work on in this is that, like, man, I really want to nail that second panel. I feel like I got a good grip on the first panel. I have a great grip on the last panel. Those things all look good to me, and I think they're going to come out looking fantastic in the final bid. However, there's still like a lot of room to work with on this, and that's cool. Like, I'm excited for it, and I can't wait to do the next couple of pages because they're pretty cool. Honestly, this is, you know, when Dave accepted me onto this book, I was really excited because I was kind of at like a little bit of in a lull and a little bit of a low point with comics, and you know, this is bringing it back for me. Like, I'm really like putting myself out there and being like not conforming to anyone else's style expectations, not conforming to anyone else's wants and needs of my style. My style is speaking for itself, and it's telling a great story at the same time. So that's a win, and there's improvement that's needed, and I'm happy to do it. So that is it for me on this. I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you're watching this on the replay, if you've been watching this live with me, I haven't been paying attention. I'm sorry, but thank you so much. Really appreciate everyone's support. Whether I'm getting 0 views live, 5 views live, or then like 20, 30 live as well, or afterwards, I'm so happy to have at least a few people on this journey with me looking at my comics. I don't need to have a 10,000 strong following. I just need to be having fun. I'm on my own at this point, and that's the good stuff. So that's that. I will end the stream here in a second. And again, thank you so much. I hope you all enjoy art and comics. Stay away from the AI. It's poison and it's art theft. And again, if you like this, subscribe. Share it with a young artist. Here's an even better idea. Share it with somebody who's upcoming, who needs to see process. Process is important to see. I'm not going to sit here and say, like, my name's Jim Lee, here's my process. My name is Zak Kinsella, here's my process. You don't know me like you would know a Jim Lee, but we're both making comics, and we both have some pretty unique views on the world. And it's important to encourage young artists by letting them see this process. If I had YouTube when I was young, this would have changed so much. I just had comics when I was young, which is nothing to complain about. It is nothing to complain about. But I can tell you a story. Like, when I first got the internet at home, the first thing I went looking for is other comic readers, because there just weren't that many other comic readers where I went to school at in this small town in Texas. And finding other comic readers, other people who appreciated the art form, and I will say, before it became the toxic dungeon that the internet is at this point, was a real boon. So if you can find somebody who likes to encourage the youth to draw, keep drawing, keep going, do not quit. Here's how I do it. Ask me questions. Let's work together, and let's get you doing the same thing. That is my goal for this channel. So please spread it out to young artists. Let's get a community built up. And really, this page is what